Are you curious on how to choose a dispensary, how to access your cannabis? Well, if so, you're going to like this video. This is Eddie with a Mindful Emergence, where Margaret and I offer mindfulness, movement, breathing practices, and in some cases, plant medicine for those seeking healing and spiritual transformation. So perhaps you are starting to work with cannabis, you're curious about it, and you live in a state where you can access it legally either in one of the 24 states that have it legal, or here, for example, in North Carolina, we have this phenomenon called THCA. Thanks to the 2018 Farm Bill, I can go to dispensaries and buy cannabis flower and other products just as my daughter could if she wanted to out in California where it is legal. Okay, so there are four different areas that I'm evaluating dispensaries on that I'm going to share with you. The vibe, the product, the personnel, and the value. Okay. So here in Asheville, we've got over 20 dispensaries, even though this is a city of under 100,000 people. And I have a lot of options. And I do have my favorite, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. But the first criteria that I suggest you use when you check out a dispensary, when you walk in there, is check out the vibe. How does it feel? What's the energy like in there? There's a big difference. Is the atmosphere suitable for, managing and offering a product that's a sacred plant, actually? Or does it feel like, it would if you walked into a quick stop off the freeway to buy CBD oil or something? So check it out. How does it feel inside? Trust your instincts on that, okay? Take a look at the people in there, the bud tenders. Do they look like they just walked out of a Burning Man event, or do they actually look like maybe they're people who are knowledgeable and professional? So, the vibe. The second thing is the product. How is it presented? How is it displayed? All right. There's a huge difference in how products displayed. And I'm talking about flour. Okay. Now, my experience is primarily here in North Carolina. What I'm going to share with you, I think, is applicable to states where it's fully legal in terms of the original cannabis, the 24 states and DC. But this, I'm primarily talking about shopping in North Carolina. That's my experience here. Okay. So, for example, this is really, really important. When you go into a dispensary, do you have access to smelling the product? I shop with my nose. Most experienced cannabis buyers and users shop with their nose because you can tell a lot. There are these things called terpenes, and they show up in all kinds of plants, every plant, okay? And there are hundreds of them in cannabis. And for example, my favorite terpene is limonene. It's a very uplifting, clear thinking terpene. And it has a citrusy, lemony smell. Well, terpene also shows up in lemons. Big surprise. So I've gone into dispensaries, and some of them, they have this little thing where you can go over and move this little, they've got some underneath a little thing, and you can move it over and you can smell it. And I can remember I got some stuff called Super Lemon Haze, and I went like this. I went, and it just exploded in this beautiful citrusy ammonia. And what that told me was, yes, it is high in limonene, like it's supposed to be. And second of all, it's fresh. You don't want to be going and buying any dried out old cannabis, okay? That's not what you want. And if you can't smell it, then you're taking a chance. All right. So, can you see it? Can you actually get a look at it? There are dispensaries where they will open up the tub and they'll hold it out, and I can look at it and I can see the trichomes. Trichomes are like hairs. Trichome is actually a Greek word that means hair, and it's on the flower, it's on the bud. And that's where all the goodies are. And if you can't see trichomes and they don't look good, okay, so I look at it and I smell it. Okay. So that's very, very important. Also, uh, how can you access it? Now, I went in this one place in South Asheville, and I'll never go back there. I walk in, first of all, you can't smell any of their flour. That's what I'm talking about is flour, if you haven't figured that out. You can't smell it. And everything is pre-bagged up. And they're in this little bag, and there's like a little kind of semi-opaque, clear, thing you can look through. I can't see it, I can't smell it. Two strikes against it. And the third thing is the smallest quantity you can buy it in is an eighth of a gram, or an eighth of an ounce, rather. So that's 3.5 grams. Well, if I'm curious about a particular strain, I'm not going to go out and spend 30, 40 bucks on buying an eighth. I want to start out with a gram, which you can usually get somewhere between $10 and $15, depending on the product and on the quality. Okay. So if I want to try something out, I want to buy a gram and bring it home. I can't get it there. And there's a lot of places you can't do that. And be careful. If you go into a place and they say, gee, I'm curious about this strawberry cough. Well, we have it in an eighth, and you go, wow, gee, you don't have a gram. I can't just try it. And they go, we got it in a pre-roll. Pre-rolls are basically joints that are, yeah, pre-rolled. And we've got strawberry cough in a pre-roll. It may not be the same grower. Okay, it may be a completely different supplier. So smoking that pre-roll isn't necessarily going to tell you how good or what that eighth is it all like. So I like being able to buy a gram, first of all, smell it, see it, and be able to access a gram. Unless I know the product, then I can go in. There's one place I go. This is the container. Okay. Smell it, see it? Uh-uh. So I'm using it, I'm repurposing it to store flour in. All right. So that's very, very important is how it's displayed. The third, so we've talked about the vibe, we've talked about product, now let's talk about personnel. Okay. This is really important. Maybe you're really, really smart, and it doesn't matter if when you go in, the bud tender doesn't know shit. Because let me tell you, some of them don't. So, I walked in one place, the guy's behind the counter and he's smoking a joint. All right. Now I understand it's a cannabis, it's a hemp store. But geez, could you maintain a little bit of a professional decorum here? And the guy was so loaded, he could hardly even talk. All right. I turned around and walked out. I'm never going back in there. I mean, you hire a guy like that, come on. I'm not going to shop there. I got other options. So check them out. Here's what I would do. If you walk in and you don't get a bad vibe right off the bat, like I did, ask them a question that only a knowledgeable bud tender would know. All right. Now, there's one dispensary in town, and I know the owner, Franny's Pharmacy. And Franny says that she trains all her bud tenders. When they step behind the counter, they're trained. And I believe her. Everybody should be trained. Okay. So ask a question that a trained bud tender would know. Here's an example. You could walk in, look at a particular strain, go, do you know what the dominant, could you tell me what the dominant terpene in that is? And do you have any idea, like, does it have what the percentage of CBD is? CBD, that oil that you get. Okay. Well, the content of CBD in a strain is significant in terms of the effect, not just the THC, but the CBD as well. Now, when you ask them a question like that, if their eyes just glaze over, you're on your own, pal. Okay. There's two acceptable answers. One is the right answer. Oh, yes, sir. That happens to be a carotene. Or, gee, yeah, it's got 2% CBD in it. The other correct answer is the second one is let's find out. And they pull up a COA. What's a COA? It's a certificate of analysis. Any product that's sold in a hemp store that's sold has to go to a lab and get tested. And there's a COA that comes with it that gives you a breakdown on everything. And every store is obligated to provide it. And if they don't, if the guy says, well, gee, I don't know, and you say, well, could we pull up a COA? And he goes, well, I don't know if I can access that. Turn around and leave. That is not a place you want to be doing business. Okay. So, very, very important. So, uh, that's that's the question of presentation. All right. So the fourth one is value. And now we're coming down to the question of cost. All right. there is a big variance from one dispensary to another, and a lot of times it's hard to justify the difference in price. So, shop around. There's one dispensary here in Asheville, and I'll tell you the name. It's called Sunfruit, and it's fruit, F-R-O-O-T. They offer a 20% discount for seniors. Well, gee, that's pretty attractive. And I've saved a bunch of money buying some stuff there. Unfortunately, they don't have a huge variety, a huge selection, but they got the 20% discount, and they're very professional. So look at that. Some of them have a coupon. My favorite dispensary, which is called Hemp for Victory, nearby me, I get a little punch card. So every time I go in and buy, they punch it. And so I'm saving money. So how much are you spending? Is it worth it? All right. So the other thing is accessibility. There's a couple of places that I like, but they're hard to get to. One of them, well, two of them are downtown, and parking is bad. It's hard to find a parking space. All right. And the other is hours. There's one place downtown. I kind of like the place, but they don't open until noon. And I'm usually not downtown except in the morning when I go down there to shop at the co-op. And I'd love to swing by, but they're not open till noon. So guess what? That's not convenient for me. So the value and accessibility is very important. So those are four reasons to or criteria on how to choose a dispensary. And I hope that's helpful to you. If you have suggestions, comments, please put them where the comment section is. And we love to see them. I've got a lot of videos coming out. I'm going to have a lot of content. I'm trying to educate people how to use cannabis intentionally. And we'll see you next video, okay?